Ma'at Hotep. I am Satra Nitert Kefa Abe Menunk Ma'at. Welcome to Raising the Feminine Principle. The title of this episode is The Beginning. I always like to give my thanks to those who are important to me. First, I'd like to give thanks to the One Most High, for without the One Most High, I would not be who I am. I would not be where I am. I would not have experienced all that I have experienced, and to go into and continue through this journey to become the Usair that I am to become. Many other cultures, ways of life, practices, spiritual practices, religions, or whatever, call it different names. As for me, as for the ancient Cometics, I am rising to my spiritual consciousness to become Usair. I like to give thanks and honor to the many teachers that have been out here that I've been reading their books. Some great people that I have met along the way. I like to give thanks to Queen Afua, as I have been reading her book, Sacred Woman. Her husband, Haru Samaj. He is also the designer, as I've said before, for my Ankh, which is my personal symbol of who I am, as for Kefa. There's also Ra Unifer Amen, who is the author of many of the Meduna Tears, Volume 1 through 5, and several other great books that I have been reading. It's been very helpful to me as well. I like to give thanks to so many people that have been helpful. My Queen Mother Marja, Hambrick McBride, where we originally met on Facebook and have gone beyond that, and who has been a great help and a guidance in my life. And she has been teaching me and showing me a lot of different things in my journey, and I give my thanks and appreciation to you. I also like to give my appreciation to my sister, Hadassah, where she was the sister who was with me in the past couple of episodes that I had, and that was done in New Jersey. Now I'm here in Turner Station in Baltimore, Maryland, and I used to live here previously before, so I'm back in what I would call home. I like to give thanks to my spiritual twin, who has always been a great help to me. His name is Amenhotep, Setep and Ra, Murray Amen. He's also the brother who did the video of matrimony and marriage, or marriage and matrimony. That's on my YouTube page. I like to give thanks to him and honor to him, as he is the one who helped sharpen me and help me to get to where I am, as he is a direct mirror of who I am, as so many people are in our lives. And I'm grateful for that. Thank you so much. Like to still give great honor to my children, my sons. They are my three kings. They are my everything. They are everything that gives me life and breath. And I cannot do this and keep going further without showing my thanks and appreciation and my divine love for them. Thank you. There's so many others that I would love to give thanks to every day. My sister Starfly, my sister Sandra, many other sisters and brothers that are out there that I vibe with on Facebook, that I talk to on the phone, that we're building with and doing something for our community, doing something for our sisters, our brothers, and our children. I give great thanks to be working with all of you. Brother Sanetter that I had a chance to meet with when I was in New York for a while and interview with him, and that was a great experience. Malik Elbe Kwesi, I met him and worked with him when we did a video for Soul Power Hour. I like to give thanks to all of them as well. Special thanks to Baba and his wife, where they are the reason why I'm able to do this online video, Raising the Feminine Principle. So I'd like to give thanks to that. I don't want to go any further, because I can sit here and give thanks all day and do a whole complete hour just on that. I was sitting here before I started this video on what am I going to talk about. There's so many things that I can sit here and think and talk about. And while I was sitting here talking to my sister, Sabrina Robinson, and she shared with me, she said, "Sister, you know what you need to talk about?" I was like, "What is that?" I'm listening. She said, "The beginning." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She said, "The beginning." Because, sister, that's where you're at. She said, "You're at the beginning. For everything that you've gone through and the steps that you've made to get where you are now, it's the beginning. Share about the beginning." And she's right. So I'm going to share about the beginning. Before we even go into that, I like to, you know what? Before I go into this poem, I do want to give thanks to my elders, as without them and their guidance and all their choices that they have made, whether they're positive or negative, we would not know what we know now. We would not have the direction that we have now. So I give thanks to my elders, those who are our ancestors, whether just presently or ancient. Thank you for leaving behind the knowledge and the symbols and the allegories that you have left so that we can guide ourselves and guide each other and be the light to each other to guide us in these dark moments. I thank you for that. I give you all these praises and my divine love to you. Thank you so much for that. I like to read a poem. As when I had a women's group a long time ago, this was something that I had sent to them before, and the group was called Phenomenal Women. And I really would just like to share the poem by Maya Angelou, Phenomenal Woman, before I get started. Thank you. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman phenomenal woman, that's me. I walk into a room just as cruel as you please, and to a man, the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman phenomenal woman, that's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They tried so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back, the sun in my smile, the ride of my breast, the grace of my style. I'm a woman phenomenal woman, that's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need of my care. 'Cause I'm a woman phenomenal woman, that's me. That is a very inspirational poem that can truly help so many women and to keep their heads up high so they can see that the woman that they are, the goddesses that they are, or in the ancient Kemetic word, Denitert, that they are, which is the same for goddess. In understanding what the beginning is, it's knowing, the beginning is about everything that I learned while I was in Jersey for the past month and a half. Everything that I learned in the month previous to that while I was in New York. And being away from home, it teaches you a lot. You learn a lot. You experience a lot. You see a lot. You hear a lot. You feel a lot. You sense a lot. And because it's not your normal boundaries. And I want to make sure that you understand when I say my home, I'm not talking about as in Maryland is my home. Because Maryland is just a place. It's a title of a place of where we stay. But my home is my children. My homes are my babies, my 3 boys. And they're not babies no more. Because they all teenagers in high school. But that's my heart. They're my heartbeat. They're my way up. When I breathe, when I inhale and exhale. That's my life. And I had to come back home because it was time. Coming back home was coming back to face my fears of my spiritual twin and not running away like I was before. And a lot of people, of course, y'all don't know the history that's behind me and my spiritual twin. And there's still a lot of people that will never know that. But I do have enough to admit that when you run away, we find so many reasons and excuses that justify why we make the choices that we're making, especially when they're made out of emotional choices. And my emotional choice was made out of fear. And my fears of, even with my children, were being inadequate. And because I was still growing as a woman and still growing as a parent, and you would think after 13 and 14 and 17 years that you would be like a better parent. You'd be close to perfection as a parent. And I'm realizing that you're not going to find like perfection in parents everywhere. And it's not like all people cannot be this way. But as a parent, there's so much to learn. There's so much to go through. And understanding why we make the choices that we make with our children, and why our children are experiencing the pain and the suffering and sometimes the joy that they feel, and not understanding that a lot of that comes from us. While I was in New York, I learned about the reasons of things that were happening around me, and why I ended up in the location that I ended up in New York, and the experience that I had with there. I'm not going to go through that experience because that's between me and that person. But it was an experience that I had to learn from, because she was a side of me that I was still holding on to. And I needed to see that side of me, because sometimes you don't see what you're doing and seeing how you're acting until you see somebody else doing the same thing. And that's what I saw. And what I saw in her was like the extreme of me, but it was showing me that if I keep going on the pattern, on the journey that I'm on, to end out just like this. And that was a side of me that I just didn't want to get into, and I wanted to do better than that. I wanted more for my son, and then my oldest son was with me due to the choices that he made, because he was originally supposed to stay in Maryland with my mom, and because he finally realized that he was making choices that was not positive, that was giving him negative results. So he started making changes and adjustments in the choices that he was making from his experience in New York to make better choices, especially when it comes to listening to the adults, abiding by the rules in the house, and living that way. And since he's been doing that, he's been doing so much better. And I'm very proud of my oldest son. We still have some kinks that we need to work through, but I'm proud of him because he's a very, very intelligent young man, and he wasn't doing well in school, and that's because he exceeds further than some other children. Let me change that. It's not that he exceeds over the children; he exceeds over the work that they give for the grades, for the grade level that they have. And he was getting bored and started, he's getting in trouble talking, socializing, and that's what a lot of children do. But he had not passed 3 times in this educational system. I can break that down on other reasons why that he was not doing so well, but that's another type of video, and that's something I'll probably end up doing on my YouTube channel. But now, he's focused, and he's doing what he needs to do. He's taking his a GED program at Prince George's Community College, and he tested high, and the director of the program was so amazed at how well he did. And at first they didn't have any room for him in the PG Community College courses, but for Roosevelt High School. And she worked very hard to pull some strings to get him to the college courses, and that's exactly what he did, he did. And she did, because he did tell me it was a woman. And now he's in the college courses taking his GED, which he's only going to be in there for less than 2.5 months to take his test, so he can go test in, test out, and he'll be done. And that shows how intelligent he is, and he didn't realize that for a very long time. But now he sees that, and I'm proud of him. And I have no qualms and no issues to sit here and say that this is what happened to my child, and this is what he went through, and look at him now. And you have to learn to be upfront and honest with the situations in your life. I cannot assist you or even your children if I'm not being real with you by real situations that we are experiencing. When I left New York, and I ended up going to New Jersey, and that's where I was before. I was in Paterson, New Jersey with Hadassah. And I was helping my sister out with what she was dealing with, as well as she had broke her leg, and she is healing very well. She is doing well. In that month and a half that I was there, she has grown so much, and I love her so much. I love you very much. When you're watching this video, I hope that you are, that you know that I love you, I respect you, I appreciate you, and I thank you that without you this past month and a half, I would not have seen as much as I did, overcome what I've done, and become who I've become as such a more stronger person, seeing all the fears that I was holding on to, or the things that I was dealing with and things that I was ignoring and wasn't even paying attention to. I thank you for that, because if you were not my reflection that was sitting right there in front of my face, I would not be where I am now. And as I was doing that same reflection for you, I'm sure you wouldn't be where you are right now. It might have taken us a little bit longer to get there, but here now, I've watched so much growth in Hadassah and growth within myself, and I could not appreciate and respect her any more than I have right this moment. And it's a very high divine love that I have for you. Thank you so much. In this process of my beginnings, there were things that I didn't realize that I was doing, things that I was, how I was with my children, how I was with even my twin, how I was with my mom, and understand the relationship with my family and so on, and the things that I was doing and building on. And we don't see these things at first, because until it's brought to your attention or you see it in someone else, and you really don't always know sometimes until you just sit down and talk to someone, because know that whoever is in your cipher, it means children, parents, cousins, aunts, uncles, friends, co-workers, anybody who you end out involving into your cipher, they are a partial reflection of who you are, who you were, and who you're going to become. I have been working with people in different angles on that. And not only just Hadassah, many other people that I've been working with on the phone, some others in person and so on, because this is what I do. I speak to person, and we vibe over the phone, and I help them and guide them along the way and help them through the situation that they're dealing with. But to work through it, when you start to open up and see what you're doing, it changes everything. It makes you feel different. It lifts something heavy off of your chest and allows you to breathe just a little bit more, a little bit better. I had to start thinking to myself, okay, while I was in Jersey, I realized that I do have some selfish moments, as that was brought to my attention. And I realized that some of those selfish moments that I didn't realize that I had came from my relationship with my family and how I was brought up in my family. And just like how I am when it comes to people helping me, I'm not good at people helping me. When it comes to monetary things, I'm asking for help, and I'm very difficult with accepting help from people who are just offering it to me. And I had to figure out why. Why do I get so uncomfortable? Why do I feel that way about people assisting me when they have it in their heart to want to help me and to be there for me while I'm in my growth? And it was due to how I felt with my family. And my family, because of the things that they have been dealing with or not dealing with throughout their journey, they didn't understand why they were reacting towards the different family members that the way they did. So when I would get asked for help from my family when I was younger and growing up, there was always a clause that came with it, something to hover over your head and kind of make you feel guilty in a controlling method, so that you would remember and never forget, I did this for you. And because of that, it made it so that I struggled a lot more in life than I needed to, because I was always a person that was there helpful to my friends, and I had friends that was helpful to me, but I only allowed them to be helpful to me in a certain manner. I wouldn't allow them to really be helpful to me monetarily. One of the few of my friends, my best friend, William LaRon Bradford, he's my best friend. He's like my brother. He's like my dad, and he's 3 years younger than me. But that's how he was. That's how strong of a man and masculine principle that he was in my life and still is in my life. We don't talk that often because married now to his wonderful wife, Lisa, and I'm very happy and proud to have been at their wedding and to experience that. But, he was there for me emotionally, he was there for me mentally, and he was there for me financially. And I appreciate and respect him for all that. And there were times that he got on me for not asking for help. I had to learn, as one of my sisters who is an empath, her name is Sarah F.A., and she shared with me, Kefa, you have to let people be who they are to be in your journey, that are put in your pathway. If they are here to help you in whatever manner they're supposed to help you, stopping them from doing their part, playing their position in your life. And I just had a difficult doing that. I had a difficulty with reciprocity. I was so used to giving or sharing that to get a return back, it was foreign to me. So when people would do nice things to me because they said I did nice things for them, it was like weird. And sometimes I would even break out in tears because it was such a beautiful moment to me and I just wasn't understanding it. But let me say this to you. We have to learn to be open with ourselves and open with the people that we are around. I'm not saying tell them everything about your life. I'm not saying to spread your business all over YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and all this other stuff. No, what I'm saying is that when people who you are around, that you have some level of trust in, that you are able to be around comfortably, talk to them, share with them. It's good. Sometimes it's good to share what your fears are, because sometimes you might not, the people that you're with, the situation might not be that way. And we need to get past that. Don't be afraid of people knowing something about you. Don't be afraid of being open and facing your fears. Because if you don't face your fears, how are you going to do anything? How are you going to make it in life? How are you going? Because you're going to always be running. And a lot of us have found so many ways to justify us running. Mine was, like a year or so ago, my first trip where I went to New York, I found what I felt was the perfect reason. And nobody can refute this reason of why I decided to go to New York last time. And that was because I had found this church. And I know that may seem very interesting for someone like myself who speak on the things that I speak on, but hear me out. Last year, I was going to this church. It was called New York City Church. And I found it about almost 2 years ago in New York City. And I will still stand by this particular church, mainly because the people in that church have a very big heart. And they're all very loving and very kind. And though some of the teachings, because I understand the teaching, I get it. I understand the purpose and the meaning behind the things that are being taught. It was the fact that it was to be in a place, building of people, no matter what color they were, no matter what race, whatever you want to call it, they are, no matter their size, whether they're big girls, big men, small girls, small men, children, long hair, short hair, bushy hair, kinky hair, long hair, stringy hair, all that stuff, it just didn't matter. It was just the fact that it was a loving environment, and I still stand by that today. But I fell in love with the church, and I really wanted to go and live there so I can keep going to that church. Now, granted, it was nice to know somebody that was there. My ex-boyfriend lived in New York, but he was not the reason or the cause whatsoever of me going to New York. That was my surface reason, was the church. My root reason was running. I was running from what me and my spiritual twin had built. And I didn't want to have to face the situation that he and I were dealing with. We both had people that we didn't let go of, and we knew we needed to let go of them, but we both found reasons to hold on to them. And we didn't want to face that reality that it was both our part that caused us to not link like the way that we should have. And so I was like, ooh. And it's so funny because your mind doesn't quite put it together in that manner. it just go, ooh, reason, go. And that's what I did. And while I was in New York that last time, and I was hanging out with my ex and chilling with my ex and doing everything under the sun with my ex, you know, and that's what happened. He wasn't my purpose, but he ended up being the person I was hanging around with because he was the only person I knew until I met my girl Tommy. But while I was there, I had the experience of my life, and I will never forget it. I don't hold any grudges to it, but when I was a very different person, and when I say this, I know this may be shocking to a lot of people, but there was a time that I used to drink a lot. I used to smoke a lot. I was smoking black and mild wines. There was a time I used to smoke weed. I was, everything I drank was all top shelf, and I know that really don't matter, but if you're going to drink, you might as well drink good. I was sexing. I wasn't having sex with a lot of people. That was not my thing, but I was still having sex. And I was just cursing and emotional and angry and pissed off. And, you know, I was just a certain way. You know, I spoke a certain way. But then, you know, I went because I had helped my ex-boyfriend at the time get his comedian gig up in New York. And he did very well, and he's still very funny, you know, but things didn't happen the way that I would have liked them to. And you know, in most of these comedy clubs, you have to have a 2-drink minimum in order to go in there once you pay for your way in. And I had not eaten anything the whole time I was there before I left. And so I got 2 Long Island iced teas while I was there. And I drank that on an empty stomach. And because I was also very uncomfortable at the time of the people, well, one person that was there at the time, I really don't have an issue with her anymore because I understand the scenario and everything behind it. But at the time, she and I didn't get along with each other. And it's mainly because we were both, in a sense, liking the same guy and was seeing and sleeping with the same guy. So that was an issue. And, but I was so uncomfortable, but at the same time, I had a chance to really go out and have some fun. So when they were all going out to go out for drinks and go bar hopping, I was like, well, I want to go too. I want to have fun too. And my children are older, so they're at home and they're chilling. They're good. So I was drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking. And then I drank so much I got sick. I was throwing up all over the place. I know this just sounds weird coming from me, but that's what happened. And this is a lifestyle I used to live when I used to hang out with this guy. So, and a couple other friends. But it just got really bad. And next thing you know, we were all walking around and I'm fumbling all over the place and could barely walk. And next thing you know, me and her got into an argument back and forth. And then me and him got into an argument back and forth. And then what happened was, because of what was going on, he ended up leaving with her and left me there by myself, and I was drunk. I was swaggering on the street, and it was upsetting to me because he left me there by myself. He left me there in New York with nobody I knew. I had no idea how to get home, and it was a very sad moment for me. So I'm walking around New York. I had on my shoes, and I wish I could show you the shoe that I had because I still have it. It's my trigger to remind me to never go back to that place ever again. And I remember walking around the corner. I remember making a right turn, and I was walking down the street, and there was like this cute little bar cafe or something on the side, and there was these girls that was there, and I just like walked up to them with my little white purse and just put it up there on the table, and I was like, hi, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm searching for my cell phone for whatever reasons. I don't even know why, because it's not like I could have called somebody and say, can you come pick me up or tell me how to get home. And I just started crying. And because I was so drunk, I fell on my butt onto the ground. And the girls came running around. Now, I will say this because I need y'all to know this and this. And even though I am all with my love for black people, I don't hate white people. So I need you to understand that, because I have a lot of white friends and that have stuck by my side. When I was there, it was these 3 white girls that came around, and they came up there and they helped me up, and they said, like, sister, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine, I guess. And we sat up on this curb and they sat down talking to me and stuff. And I just broke out in tears. And, I'm putting out my heart. And I was saying, oh, this guy, this about the guy. And the girl said to me, I want you to listen to me, what I'm saying to you. If the man truly loved you and cared for you, you wouldn't be sitting on the ground right now crying while he left with another girl. So no matter all that I have done for him, no matter all that I have shared with him, no matter how much I helped him to become who he had become, it didn't matter, because I was the one sitting down there drunk and crying on the ground, and he was elsewhere. And so I ended up having to, because they couldn't figure out where I lived, because I didn't know where I lived and I didn't have a license to say where I lived. They ended up calling the ambulance, and the ambulance came and picked me up, took me to a hospital in New York, and had me sleep it off. And then they told me how I can get home, and that's how I got home. And so that was my peak moment of my life that changed so much about me. If that moment had not happened the way that it did, I would not really be where I am right now, because I wouldn't have had that strong force to get me there. Yes, I was a bit depressed. I was missing Amenhotep so much. I was missing my children. I was getting what they call depressed at the time, because they weren't with me. They weren't near me. And I don't know how to handle, and so after all that happened, that's when everything changed for me. Everything that I had always learned about about the Kemetic path, the Kemetic sciences, spirituality, the divine laws of the One Most High, that I learned like 10 years ago and was still studying a little bit here and there. I had never forgotten it, but I just buried it deep within. And when that moment came out, it just went out like that. And I remember that because I know for the last couple of weeks or so that I was in New York, there were ravens or crows that was always flying above me, like follow me above. And I remember I looked up the stories behind ravens and crows, and it's not what people think it is. It's not about a physical death that's coming, or like there's carcasses somewhere. No, they actually are spiritual bound creatures that represent when a spiritual death is coming, they are hovering around it. So I was going through my spiritual death because of what I was experiencing, what I was feeling and going through, and what I was bearing within my being. And so when I woke up, and after that situation happened, everything changed. And my last day that I was there, I remember I was walking to the beach, and the last crow flew away. And when I saw that flew away, I knew it was all over. I am not the person that I am. That person that I called, or that I was called, Tiba Pinnell, was no more. That is just a name now. And that life that I lived was no more. Now, that's when I took on my name. That was given me over 10 years ago by a queen mother in the Uset Society. And that's how I became Kefa Abe Menunk Ma'at. From there, I grew. I stopped drinking. I stopped smoking. I stopped having sex. I stopped eating meat. I was clearing out my body. My cycles became clear and so much better. And my relationships with people were changing. And I started growing and learning. And I can even tell you that, though, in my month and a half that I was in Jersey, even compared to the year that I was in Maryland living with my mom, I learned more in that month and a half about myself and about the things that I'm doing and the purpose and the reasons and the things that are happening around me than any time of my life. And I can tell you that I've had many growth moments, and I've had many opportunities where I've learned so much, but this cannot compare to this past month. I was able to see my fears straight on. Why? Because it was right in front of me. I got to see what I was feeling, like the issues that I was having, where my sister was talking to me about the Anatomy of the Spirit, a book that she had, and she's and what was going on. And while we were sitting there talking, and I remember one day I told her, I said, what am I doing? I was like, I need to go home. I need to go home. And I realized what stability really means. And and I realized that stability is not about having a place to live. It's not about where you work at. It's not about those things, or having a car. Those are things that you acquire in your stability. Your stability, if it's just you, it's you. Your home is you as the spirit, and your connection to the one most high. That's your home if it's just you. If you have children, your stability is your children. Your home is your children and you and the one most high. If you have a mate and children, then that all encumbers the whole thing. Where you live, it doesn't matter if you were on the street, it doesn't matter if you're in a campground, it doesn't matter if you are in a shelter or a women's home or a men's home or whatever the situation may be. Home is with those that love you and you love them, and that you have a bond and a connection that cannot be disturbed. No matter what comes your direction, you will always know that I can come here and this is my place. And that's what I had to realize. And though this may, is a shock to a lot of people, and I cannot tell you what direction this is going to go, but I knew it was time to come home. I had to come home to my children. I had to come home and start and face my fears and what I was running from my spiritual twin, and to see where that's going to go. And if it doesn't go anywhere, I'm fine with that. It took me a long time to deal with that I'm fine with that, because it was a blessing. It was a beautiful moment in my life just to have this man in my presence, to have this man around in my journey, to be by my side at any time that he was there, and for him to experience the life with me and experience the life with my children, and read this with him and children and so on. And for him to be the man that he had been in my life and helping me with my children, guiding the children, being my friend, being my best friend, and having that connection that you only can have with just that one person. And I was running from that because I was so afraid of that. I didn't grow up in that environment. I grew up in an environment where, the only man that I knew of any level of love was my grandfather. And he died when I was 13 years old. He died of cancer. And I can't change that. He did die of that. And I miss him. And I wish things were different. But it isn't. But when he died, that changed everything about my life. And it changed the direction that I was going and what I was feeling and how I was acting. And when he left, that changed me. When I finally met my father after 18 years, he and I were going to work things out and do things. And he died 3 days later. He was murdered. He was shot in the head when he opened the door to his house. And that's what happened, and he died. And so my relationship and my fear came from that, of not allowing to, because of that fear of something's going to happen. They're going to leave for some reason, and I didn't want that. And even though I kind of knew that at one time, and he and I spoke on that, I didn't realize how deep that was. We cannot live our lives in fears. We have to learn to face these things. Fear can keep you from living. It can keep you from moving. It can keep you from adapting and changing the other parts of your life. You have to get past those things. In my growth time, in that month and a half, also seeing, what are the things like facing family as well, dealing with family issues that, a lot of us have been running from, and seeing why we have become what we have become, what we have accepted to be reality, and that we had to see that where these things were coming from. You have to take a step back. You got to sit back and talk to yourself. Ask yourself questions. Careful, why do you do this? Why do you act this way? Why do you say this? Why do you say that? You have to be able to have something to go off of. There's so much that we need to learn, so much that we need to do in order to rise spiritually, in order to rise financially, in order to rise mentally, emotionally, to see the reasons and purpose of why the people in your life are there. You have to see that this person is in my life because they're supposed to be. They are a reflection of who you are. Learn from them. Watch them. If there's something that you're angry about where they're concerned, find out why you're angry with them. Look within yourself to see what it is that they have, that they hold within their being, that you're not trying to face, and that you're going to have to face in order for you to grow. And that's what I did. I started thinking back of all my relationships with my children, with my family, with my friends, with my ex friends that I'm not friends with no more, my new friends, my ex-boyfriends, and so on. I had to see what the familiarity was. Write those down. Find out what it is, or the things that get on your nerves about people, that dislikes, and write them down, so then you can find out how you relate to it in your life and things that you don't like. Because what you don't like in them is what you really don't like in yourself, and I had to figure that out. There's so much to learn, so much to grow from. And I really hope that this video will help you figure that out and to see something within yourself. I really do.